My history of Kirby goes back to my childhood days of playing two-player Kirby on the SNES with my childhood best friend, igniting my passion for Kirby. I only played the Kirby games that were available to me growing up. I had a Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and a GameCube, and played those ones. Console Kirby games are those I've never played too much, and while I did own a 3DS and tried playing Planet Robobot on the channel in fact, I personally hate how the 3DS feels in my hands. My thumbs start to ache because of how bad it is, and I dropped the game. And all action games in the 3DS because of it. So I wanted to preface this review by saying that while I have played several Kirby games in the past, I don't have any reference to any other platform 3D Kirbys like Star Allies or Kirby 64. I literally just wanted to play a new Kirby on a whim a couple nights ago. As of right now, I've completed the game, post-game, and essentially all that is left for me is 100%ing Wild Mode. So this is my perspective going into this review. I wanted to qualify this before I continue because I'm hardly a 3D platform gamer at all. Like, I don't play Mario games. If there's no grids or turns, usually I don't bother. This is mainly gameplay focused, but like all Kirby games, there is a very simple story that unfolds near the end of the game. But still, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. I'm not going to show any gameplay that would allude to a story spoiler at all. The only thing that gets close to spoiler territory in this review is just talking about certain stages, certain mechanics, and certain aspects of the level design where I feature like a random room here and there. Kirby remains a simple turn your console on and play whimsical romp that immediately harkened me back to those childhood days. From the offset of the intro level, the game spends little time explaining anything more than it needs to, and those familiar with Kirby games or even just what Kirby does will know what to do. Jump, inhale, copy abilities, mash B when you have the sword ability, etc. The introductory level is better served to introduce you to Kirby's new gimmick for this game. Mouthful mode. Goofy name aside, this ability lets Kirby take control of common modern world objects to progress through certain obstacles in any given stage. A car, a vending machine, a traffic cone, an arch, light bulb, and so on. You'll use the car to speed through racetrack and road segments, the arch to glide through and do barrel rolls a la Star Fox, the light bulb to illuminate stages that are predominantly unlit, and even take in water spouting from a pipe to wash away oil, poison, fire, magma, and enemies as you become essentially a giant water balloon. This is compounded with the copy abilities that Kirby is already famous for. What stuck out to me the most in the introductory world was how good Kirby's controls were. His normal form was pretty standard stuff to me, but what really impressed me were the movement of his Mouthful abilities. Car Kirby felt genuinely amazing to drive around in, and throughout the entire game whenever there was a car segment, I was excited. The other forms like Cone, Vending Machine, and Water Balloon Kirby are relatively short-lived as his mobility is understandably compromised. But even with Kirby's limited mobility, the level design still found new ways to make use of them. Some segments are pretty creative and fun despite this limitation. Car Kirby, Arch Kirby, and Ringmouth Kirby are genuinely fantastic segments and were some of the most memorable ones in these stages throughout the whole game for me. Even the light bulb ability, which I'd say is used the least throughout the game because playing in the dark probably shouldn't be part of a 3D platformer's gameplay loop, never overstayed its welcome and even better, fit thematically where it was featured. Overall, Mouthful mode was great. In this game, Kirby has his usual copy abilities, but unique to Forgotten Land is the weapon forging system. Yes, instead of combining certain abilities together to make them stronger like in Star Allies and slightly Kirby 64, Forgotten Land has a Waddle Dee blacksmith that will upgrade a copy ability completely. This is done by finding weapon blueprints hidden in any given level or dropped by bosses. Most weapons can be upgraded at least 3 times. For example, the sword ability has the standard sword, Gigant sword, and 2 other upgrades, with post-game content allowing for further stat upgrades. The weapon upgrades are naturally functionally superior to their predecessors in every possible way. Projectile abilities can be sent farther, are more numerous and powerful. Abilities that allow Kirby to glide and move around faster, like Fire, Spike, or Tornado, can be done much faster and allow Kirby for more movement speed and power to improve drastically. While not necessary at all to upgrade these base abilities to beat the game, it's a mechanic which you will want to explore somewhat, mainly because default Kirby isn't very fast or agile at all. In Wild Mode, I pretty much stuck to Sword, Fire, Tornado, and Spike abilities where I could, as I think they're the strongest and honestly mashiest abilities for me to get through the levels and enemies. And being able to enter any stage with your ability of choice off the bat was a nice bonus. What is also unique to this game is the dodge roll. Upon an enemy attack, defending then hitting any direction on the analog stick will put the game in slow-mo for a moment, allowing Kirby to counterattack with a stronger than his usual option. Whether it's a stream of projectiles or a strong sword sword combo, and so on. It's a simple mechanic, but a very welcome and fun one in boss fights. Previously, Kirby games that I've played were essentially just mash fests on a boss and memorizing their patterns, but the mechanic does make important battles feel more engaging and rewarding when you do pull off a dodge roll. You do feel pretty cool for expertly defeating a boss without taking any damage after dodge rolling and countering everything. I mean, I'm no Dark Souls player, but it still felt pretty pro gamer. This review has thus far talked about Kirby's abilities and how applicable they are in action. But how about the action itself and the level design? If I were to describe the level design in one sentence, I would say simple yet intuitive. No one should expect a Kirby game to be difficult. The ones I've played never were. And this one isn't either, but it doesn't need to be. The level design is intuitive because it has a consistent ability to present the intention behind an obstacle or room to reward the player for making the right choice while not having to completely hold your hand or spell out its solution to you. While the early game is more deliberate with its solutions, like presenting a visual explicitly telling you where to go, later levels will hint a reward being close or a hidden room being somewhere close by. For example, one hidden room asks you to hit 3 switches over a floor of spikes. This is only easily done with the tornado ability, which just so happens to be available to copy. Even better, you actually get a second reward achievement from this by not taking any damage on the spike floor, which the tornado ability will allow you to do. But not all rewards are so transparent. Some require careful observation of your surroundings, and may sometimes only be revealed that they exist after you complete a level. Each level has side objectives, which when accomplished reward you with Waddle Dees. In one of the ice regions, there is a reward for finding a clock tower, and in my playthrough, I never saw it until I completed the level the first time and realized that I missed something here. Upon my second try, I paid more attention to the layout, and lo and behold, at the very end, I noticed something in plain sight that I didn't before. A platform far in the distance just upon completing the level. And so I floated over there and voila, the clock tower. This game constantly succeeds in hiding paths and hidden rooms and rewards by simultaneously not being overly hand-holding nor being annoyingly obtuse and unintuitive in that finding anything doesn't feel undeserved, random, or way too cryptic. It's the simple yet engaging and non-repetitive pleasure of finding well-earned rewards, not to mention a fantastic use of its 3D world that makes playing and replaying these maps so fun. And as time goes on and you progress through more and more intricate and difficult levels, the game tries to test you more and more. Your ability as a player and your capability to adapt. Your mistakes feel like they're your fault all of the time, and I very much enjoy that. From beginning to end, every level feels like it ramps up in complexity and difficulty, and towards the last world, I was genuinely feeling challenged and I actually game overed a few times. With such a glowing review of the level design in this game, not everything is as rewarding as the main story levels makes it seem. Recalling back to the forging system mentioned earlier, the material required, the rare stones to improve these weapons, are nearly exclusively earned from the treasure roads. Treasure roads are located all over the overworld and are meant to test your ability with any given copy ability or mouthful mode transformation. These are time attacks, and in order to earn the reward of a stone, you simply need to complete it. These time challenges start easy at first, basically lasting 30 seconds, and then you get a rare stone, which is fine. But as the overworld opens, treasure paths based on more advanced skills open up. The latter treasure roads are harder and take more time, and trying to hit under the stated target time ramps up in challenge as well. While this makes sense from a gameplay and progression perspective, the rewards themselves do not change. It's one single rare stone after another, progressively taking longer and longer to get. Compound this with the fact that there are tons of these roads spread out throughout the overworld, one for each weapon and ability like I said, and this starts becoming busy work that I had very little patience to complete. And I honestly put off most of these till the end game and post game, because I'd argue rare stones have diminishing returns. Not all weapons are necessary at all to upgrade, neither are all of them made equal in their usefulness. Some of mine are still sitting at level 1, and since the reward for progressively more difficult tasks is the same, the treasure roads started to feel more tedious than anything else. It's conflicting because some of these treasure roads really do push any particular weapon ability to its max, and the developers really made the challenges unique, so much so that many of these segments are more intricate than their main level counterparts. There's a target time for each road, which naturally you want to aspire to hit under. The thing is, hitting under target is actually really hard, and trying to hit the more difficult targets for the 3-star treasure roads, the hardest ones, I would argue is the hardest content in the game. But here is where another frustration with these treasure roads come in. Hitting target time isn't really worth the trouble at all. What do you get for tryharding and beating these times? A measly 50 coins. Now clearly this is an optional goal. You do these roads for the rare stone and then you leave for the most part. This is where my statement on diminishing returns also applies. By the end game, 50 coins is not really anything. You can't even pull once on the 4th and final gacha machine with 50 coins. There are so many funner and easier ways to earn that amount of coins in this game, like fishing, doing other minigames, and even just playing the main levels to 100% completion. It feels very cheap, but weirdly out of place given the main story levels make you feel so much better for your accomplishments. Less of these time challenges overall would make this side content less boring and time consuming, and better yet, just throw some stones in the actual levels. The game actually does this a few times, but it's very, very late into the campaign. Again, this is just my opinion on it, and your experience will vary, I'm sure. I just really wasn't a fan of them, and I felt like I had to talk about them because this is my review. In any case, that's the least enjoyable part of the game for me. But what else is there besides the main levels and these treasure roads? The score. The music in this game is wonderful, perfectly capturing every feeling you ought to feel when staring at the beautiful visuals alone. The adaptive overworld music so smoothly captures each region and just feels so cool when it happens. Like, listen to this as I glide through the overworld without going too far for spoiler's sake. The gorgeous music always fits the gorgeous level design, and when things get intense and full of magma, the music follows suit. Waddle Dee Town, the hub of this game. This is where the forge is, Kirby's home, the battle arena, and many other mini-games that reward the player with items and gold are found. I love this adorable little place. It's a fun distraction, and the mini-games are very enjoyable to my surprise. You can fish, and it's pretty standard stuff, but there's also a tilt board mini-game that has you literally tilting your controller to play. I was kind of surprised by this, and this is something I've never done in a Switch game before. I mean, maybe that's just because I don't play that many games that aren't SRPGs, but it's fun and cute. And like I mentioned, the more Waddle Dees you rescue, the more stuff gets built for you. And as far as multiplayer goes, while I don't have any experience of this myself because I couldn't find another friend to play with me, I have heard really good feedback from my friends. And I can imagine that if I had this much fun playing single player, then playing 2-player would probably elicit those same feelings that I had when I was a kid. If you do like 3D platformers or Kirby games, then I would absolutely recommend this. But if you don't really fall into any of those categories, I don't think it's terribly necessary for you to play this game. This game isn't hard to 100%, and I actually do want to 100% this. And I don't know when I'm going to do this, maybe just on my own time when I just feel like passing the time. But this game truly is beautiful and whimsical and fun, and I'm satisfied with my purchase. This is a step away from my usual content, so if you're still watching, please consider leaving a like and leaving feedback on this video or your own opinions on Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Without spoiling anything, of course. Yeah, I honestly have no idea how well this video is going to perform, but hopefully, people enjoy it. That'd be great. With all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.
You